Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy and Other Stuff podcast. I want to start off this episode by yet again thanking all of my patrons. You guys freaking rock. You are the butter to my roll. If that makes any sense, I'm continuing the food analogies. They're not going anywhere. I'm going to keep doing them, and you can't stop me. Just like always, you can't stop me because I'm behind a camera and you're behind a screen somewhere else. So good luck trying to stop me. But thank you, thank you for your support after I just kind of threatened you almost. But you know, that's fine. And speaking of the Patreon, I started reading the first ever Fantasy and Other Stuff Patreon book club book. We're reading House of Leaves. And okay, listen. I didn't realize, so there was a poll that ran, and I at first all the votes were for different books, and then I realized that The Princess Bride actually won. I don't know, it just like didn't update for me, so I like made a post saying we were reading House of Leaves, and now I have to commit to that because I can't retract that statement now. But House of Leaves is something. I don't know if anyone here has started it, but that book, oh boy, it's oh my god, it's not what I thought it was gonna be. At the beginning is like super interesting, and then it like turns into a textbook kind of. I'm not gonna say a whole. I'm gonna save my thoughts for all my update videos on the Patreon. But dude, what is this book so far? I'm gonna reserve judgment. I'm sure that it will surprise me, but so far I'm like not very far. I'm like, I don't know, like 50 pages in, and part of it has been somewhat of a chore because I'm like, what the hell even is this? Like, I feel like I'm reading something for college. Anyway, let's not get too far into House of Leaves because I could say a lot, and I'm not going to right now. But yes, I am reading it. It's probably going to take me way longer than I thought it was going to. I think I said it was going to take me like a couple of weeks. I think it's probably going to take me like three weeks maybe, because like it's hard for me to sit down and read it right now. But maybe that'll change. Maybe I'll hit a point where I'm like, oh my god, this is brilliant, and then I just nonstop read it, but that has not happened so far. I've like had to make myself sit down and read it for, not at the beginning, the intro was cool, but then you if you're reading it, you understand. Let's move off this topic, okay? Pulling from last week, I told you guys that I was finishing up Jade City. I actually finished the book, like, immediately after I finished recording last week's podcast. I went and sat down, and I finished Jade City, and I loved the ending. It was so good. It was such a good ending. Oh my god. I don't want to spoil anything for anyone that's reading it or anyone who, like, plans on reading it, but the end of that book is exactly what I needed it to be, and it set up character arcs, because it's a trilogy. It's the first book in a trilogy. It set up character arcs to go in directions that I am very satisfied with, because at the center of this story is like this nucleus of a family, the Calls, and they all have their own things going on, but they're basically all of their purposes have served the Call family. It's very much a mafia story, you know. It's like The Godfather. They do their own things, but they're all serving the purpose of like the greater good of their clan, essentially. And at the end of the book, again, no spoilers, it kind of starts to split off so that all the nucleus family, the characters, not all of them, but one of them, I can't say anything without spoiling it, but there's a character that kind of branches off and now may have a storyline that sort of deviates from that core purpose, and I'm very interested to see where that goes in the future, because something I have loved about the first book is how in-depth the world building is, and Fonda Lee has built up this world where several countries have been introduced, but we've only stayed on this one central island where all the jade is and where these essentially Yakuza families are controlling everything. But I've been super interested in the global geopolitical climate because she hints at it several times, but we don't really get into it. We get small scenes here and there that kind of show you what the outside world is like. There's people from the outside world that we see, but we only get these little blinks, these little glimpses at, okay, there's like a bigger picture going on outside of this island, and we don't really get to delve into it. And now it looks like, potentially in the second book, that's going to become more relevant just purely based off of what one character does. And I could be wrong about that. It's just what in my head, I'm like, logically, it would make sense for them to go explore more of the world at this point. But Who knows? I could be wrong. I have read like Goodreads reviews that say that there is more to do with the outside world, which maybe that's me just spoiling it for myself, but I am excited for that because these books are very fascinating in the way that she's built up this world that's kind of like Earth. I mean, it is essentially Earth, but it's not. Like, there's no America. There's a country that I think is supposed to be a stand-in for America. You know, there's stuff like that. Like, countries that seem familiar, but they aren't exactly the same thing, you know? It's like, oh, this is maybe Russia, but it's not. It's not, though. It's something else. And then they have cars and telephones and guns and stuff, but like they're not quite exactly what we have on Earth. And I think that's a really interesting choice for setting in a book, because it's not urban fantasy, but it is. But it's not. And that's, I don't know, I've never seen that before. I've just never, ever encountered that before. I've never seen an author create an entire fictional world that is basically Earth. Like, most of the time they create something so fantastical and different, and it's usually set in an entirely different age. You know, they don't have technology or whatever, because at that point you're kind of straying into sci-fi almost, and that's the genius of this book so far to me, is that it is almost pseudo sci-fi at times. Like, there are things that wouldn't exist in the real world that exist because of the magic, which is technically scientific in the world sense, in world. Dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. You should definitely check it out. If you haven't started Jade City, if you haven't read it, it's not for everyone, I think. It definitely is heavily focused on the world building. I've been saying there's a lot of focus on that, and it is pretty exposition heavy at times, but I think what it's doing in this first book, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of action, there's a lot of engaging character moments, there's a lot of engaging emotions, but I would say that's like half of the book. The other half is a lot of just setting things up, kind of explaining the culture of this place, and explaining, there's even an emphasis on like the religion and everything. And I think what Fondalee's doing with this first book is not only engaging us with the conflict of the overarching conflict of this story and getting us into the beginnings of these character arcs, she's also laying the groundwork for a much broader experience of this place that she's created. And so this first book kind of needs to do a lot of the heavy lifting. The next book is called Jade War, so I'm assuming it's going to be a lot more action packed, but I don't know. I don't want to ramble on too much about this book, but suffice to say, I enjoyed it greatly, and I am very excited to get to the rest of the trilogy, which I will probably be doing soon as I finish reading the book that I am currently reading, which is The Lies of Locke Lamora. I finally got to it, and I am thoroughly happy with it so far. I would say, okay, I totally understand some of the complaints that I have seen online, because the first, like, half of the book is a lot of characters just kind of doing stuff, and it's like very not quippy, it's very witty, and the writing, this is something that's not a complaint, but the writing is immaculate. Scott Lynch has a very lyrical prose, and it is beautiful. The way that he describes things, the way that people talk, the way that action plays out, it's just so poetic. It's beautifully written. I mean, it genuinely, I think Scott Lynch has incredible prose, and it's not something I usually give a lot of credence to in the books that I'm reading. I don't need beautiful prose to love a story. I mean, I love Brandon Sanderson, and that man, I mean, he writes as plain as they come, which is one of his strengths because it's very accessible. But again, I don't need great prose to love a story. I don't need it. This is just, it feels like just a cherry on top, man. It gives so much flavor to the story that's being told. And I don't think I would have been as enamored as I was with the beginning of the book if it wasn't for his writing. Because we don't get, I would say the biggest, okay, how do I word this? We have distance from the characters in the first half of the book. And you start to shorten the distance between you and the characters as the book goes on, but the first like 50%, I was like, I don't know the inner workings of these characters' minds and emotions well enough to really care about them. I don't know how else to say that. Yeah, that's essentially what I mean, is like Locke Lamora, the titular character, until even past the halfway point, I didn't feel like I knew him. I knew who he was, and it was fun watching him do stuff, but like I didn't know him as a person well enough to really care about him. And I would say the same goes for there's like because it's okay. Basic pitch to you right now. This is Ocean's 11 with magic. It's a fantasy heist story, and it follows a group of people called the Gentlemen Bastards, who are like basically a group of con artists, and they steal from people, and they do all sorts of schemes and pranks and stuff. And all of that group, there's like 4 or 5 of them. I didn't feel like I knew them well enough to really care about them, and that is definitely a detriment to me because characters are really important to me in a story. I need to be pulled in by the characters first and foremost. I would say to really emotionally engage with the story. I can emotionally engage with the plot, but the characters need to be at the forefront. I think that basically every single reader has that experience, and so the beginning of Lies of Locke Lamora is extremely plot heavy and extremely flowery in the way that it's written. In that it's just here's a lot of really cool stuff. Here's a lot of really interesting world building, and the characters are kind of present in there, but you aren't intimate with them at all. I'm about, I want to say 60-70% of the way through now, and that has changed. Not drastically, but I definitely feel like I understand Locke a lot better, and that I understand the kind of person he is a lot better, and I'm starting to get much more of a feel of the characters. And I'm a little disappointed that it took this long, but I would say that Scott Lynch is a strong enough of a writer in plot and in world building and in prose and all of that I don't mind. I don't necessarily care that much that I wasn't attached to the characters, and he's doing it well enough now at making me care about the characters that I can forgive the first half for not really having that. I am definitely stoked on this book. I've been told that the ending is incredible, so I'm very excited to see where it goes and sort of what the resolution to everything is going to be, because our characters are in some hot water right now, and I don't know how they can plausibly get out of it, at least where I'm in the book right now. And I think that's sort of supposed to be the point. I mean, that's the point of like every heist movie, right? Is like, oh, the characters have this impossible vault that they need to break into. That's not the plot of this, but that's, think of any heist movie, right? They need to break into this vault, and it seems like an impossible task, but then they have some plan up their sleeve, and they pull it off, and it's some kind of mind-fuckery trickery that you never saw coming. And, I mean, I'm assuming it's probably going to be something like that at the end of this book, and I'll probably be shocked and surprised, and then I'll end up loving it so much. But so far, I would say it's really good. I'm really liking it. I don't love it. I'm not like this is one of the best books I've ever read, but several people have told me this is like one of their favorite books, and they're people who have very similar taste as me. So I'm excited to see like what the last act of this book is going to do for me. I mean, I'm definitely more and more every single chapter. I'm getting more and more sucked in, but we'll see. That'll be I'll talk about that on next week's episode, because I'll probably finish this in the next couple of days, I'm assuming, and then I'm going to jump straight into Jade War, I believe, and to give you a little update on my TBR real quick. So I'm going to read Jade War next. I really want to get back into that. And then I think I'm going to do... I'll see how I feel at the end of Jade War. If I'm like really stoked on Jade War, if I'm like, that was fucking awesome, I'll probably just go straight into Jade Legacy and just knock that trilogy out. But if I end Jade War and I'm kind of feeling like I did with Jade City, where I'm like, that was awesome, I need a buffer book, then I'll probably read The Wise Man's Fear. But one way or another, even if I read Jade War, then Jade Legacy, I'm picking up The Wise Man's Fear. I am catching up to the Kingkiller Chronicle. It's happening. And specifically the reason that I'm doing that is not only because I'm excited to read it, because interestingly enough, if you follow my TikTok, on there, there's a lot of conflicting opinions. I talked about The Name of the Wind on a TikTok that kind of blew up, and there's a lot of conflicting opinions. There's people that are like, oh my god, The Wise Man's Fear is so good. It's such a good sequel. It's perfect. You need to read it. And there's a lot of people who are like, that book's ass. It's horrible. I hate it. Some people are like, I've seen several people say it's like, it devolves into like neckbeard fantasy harem stuff, and I'm like, what? How? It's magic school. And now my curiosity is as much of a factor as my desire to continue reading. Like I need to know like where these conflicting opinions are coming from. I need to understand context, you know? They're just so varied, they're so all over the place, and I need to know. I need to know why. And I want to be able to form my own opinion. The fact that there's several people who are like, oh no, it becomes like, there's like creepy sex stuff in it, and I'm like, that's so different than anything I would have ever imagined. The first book had nothing, it was like innocent teenage romance was like the only thing that would even be kind of close to that was like part of the main character's life. Dude, what? Neckbeard fan. I am shocked by those comments, but there's a lot of them. So I need to know. And I also specifically I want to just be done with 2 series that I'm reading. So I want to finish up the Greenbone Saga, and I want to catch up to Kingkiller. That way I can at least say that I don't have those 2 series ongoing anymore, because I have far too many ongoing series currently. So I need to do those. I have to do it. I need to just knock them out. But beyond that, beyond finishing up those, I want to get back to Joe Abercrombie really soon. That's going to happen. Now that I'm saying that out loud, I'm like, maybe I'll finish the Greenbone Saga, then read Joe Abercrombie, and then read The Wise Man's Fear. You know what? I'm a mood reader. You know this. I've already said several times. I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to read next, and then I don't do that, and I read something else. So maybe I'm just lying to all of you yet again. That's a very real possibility. So we'll figure it out as we go along. That's fine, though. And in other news, outside of the books that I'm reading, because I have plenty of stuff going on outside of that currently, something to look forward to for my big One Piece fans. Listen to this podcast, all right? I've got a tasty treat coming your way, all right? I'm very excited about this. I'm just going to tell you guys here first before I post onto my main channel. Me and a group, I think there's 7 of us. I think there's 7 of us. We have been doing this for, I want to say 6 months. About 6 months ago, we did what is called the One Piece Draft. And what we did is we formed rosters of characters. We literally did a draft, and we drafted characters from the manga, and you get X amount of points if they show up in a chapter, if they do something particular in a chapter, and then we just continue that for like a season, quote unquote, and last season ended on the last chapter before the big break. I came in second. I'll have you guys know, I almost won. I was in first place until the last chapter, and then someone had a very important character on their roster that revealed a pretty big secret in the last chapter, and they surpassed me because of all the points they got from that. But I'm very excited because we just were doing that for fun. Me and my friends were just doing it, just us. We just had a group chat, but we decided it would be really fun to start recording our One Piece draft and posting them online. So that's going to be going live on my main channel, I believe, at probably the end of the week, because next week we're going to start getting spoilers and the scans for the next One Piece chapter, and I want to have that up beforehand. And then every single week that there's a chapter, we're going to all record and we're going to talk about it. We're going to tally up points. We're going to have a discussion. And that's going to be like my weekly One Piece stuff. It's going to return. I'm finally going to get back to form. And it's just so fun. It's so goddamn fun. I really can't overstate how much excitement the One Piece draft has added to the weekly chapters. Like, I just have so much fun reading the chapter the first time through, and it's just, it's One Piece, so I'm just hype as hell. I'm just so excited for whatever it is that Oda's feeding us. And then I go through again, and I start counting up points, and I try and see who got what. It's so fun, and I think that it's a fun idea to me, and I really hope that, like, other people see it, and they start doing it too, because genuinely, it makes the experience so much cooler. And also just like having that small community of friends that you just turn to and you all just geek out about One Piece. It's awesome, dude. It's great. I mean, it's literally like the best part of my week, and so it'll be really fun to share that with you guys. I'm very excited for that. So that's going to be happening. I believe I'll probably post that, I don't know, like Friday. I don't know. It'll be later this week, but expect that soon. I'm very, very, very excited to finally get onto that, because we did it for like 6 months and we had talked about it, but now we're actually doing it. We just recorded the draft last night, and I'm not gonna cap. My team is kind of fire. I feel like I have a pretty good chance at winning this time. People overlooked some characters. That's all I'm gonna say. You guys will see if you watch it. Let's see. What else? Oh, the Dune trailer. Oh my god. Okay, I haven't talked about this a lot on the podcast. I haven't talked a lot about this anywhere. I am an enormous Dune fan. Okay, I love the first book. I've read I think I've read 3 of them. I don't remember where I stopped. I read like 3 of them. But really, the first book is the one that everyone, it's like, that's the classic one, right? So I loved the Dune movie. The Dune the one that came out just 2 years ago was fantastic. I loved it so much. It was everything I wanted. I love Denis Villeneuve, the director. I think he's an amazing sci-fi director, and just the scale of everything, the way everything, the cinematography, the acting, everything about it, the music, it was so good. It was so good, all right? It was just a fantastic movie. And part 2 comes out in November. We had one trailer like a few months ago, I think, and they just released another one. If you haven't watched the Dune Part 2 trailer, go do it right now, okay? You pause, you go watch the trailer, and you come back, okay? And then you listen to me right now. That trailer was so good. Dude, this movie is gonna give it every. The first one won like 6 Oscars. This one's sweeping, baby. This one's sweeping. It's gonna be so freaking good. Oh my god, I'm so excited, man. It just, everything about it is exactly what it needs to be for an adaptation of Dune. I am unbelievably excited, man. Oh my god. Anyway, that's not even the news that I was excited about regarding that. This is not like 100% confirmed, all right? This isn't something that I think is like fully like, oh my god, it's like, it's gonna happen no matter what. But a bunch of news outlets have been reporting that there is gonna be a Dune Part 3, which would adapt the second book in the Dune series, Dune Messiah. Oh, I really hope it's true. Because Dune Messiah is technically the ending of the main character, Paul Atreides. It's technically the ending of his story. The first book technically does not resolve his character arc, because a slight spoiler if you haven't read or watched part 1, he sees visions of himself leading like a holy crusade across the galaxy. He sees visions of the future, that he can see the future. If you read the book, that's literally the first chapter. It's not like that big of a spoiler. It's established very early on that this is something he's going through, is that he's seeing the future and he's seeing himself lead literally a genocide across the galaxy. And I will just say nothing really, but I will say that seeing the future and then not delivering on that would feel kind of unsatisfying for the movie series, because they definitely spend a lot of time building that up. And so I'm very excited at the prospect of them actually being able to adapt that book. Also, Timothée Chalamet is a fantastic actor, and the second book is heavily character focused on Paul Atreides, and I think it would give him a perfect chance to shine as a character, and for Timothée Chalamet as an actor, I think it would be fantastic. I truly think that if they do that adaptation justice, that's like Oscar-worthy material there. It is so good, and I really hope it's true. I mean, the news outlets, they're not always right, but the fact that they're reporting on it as like a 3-part series, please, God, let it be real. Please. I need this to be real. I need it so bad. I'm so excited for that movie, man. So check out the trailer if you haven't already. And if you haven't seen Dune Part 1, go watch it. Go freaking watch that movie. I literally just rewatched it last week, and it holds up so well. That's stupid to say. It's only been two years, but like, I saw that movie, I think, like 4 or 5 times in the movie theater. That's kind of what I do when I get obsessed with a movie. And I've seen it so many times since that. Like, and then I sat down and watched it with someone last week, and it was so good. It was, oh my god, I love that movie. I love it. You need to go watch it if you haven't already, okay? I know some people think it's like boring and drawn out, and there's a lot of politicking, there's a lot of like world building, it moves kind of slow at times, but it's all necessary. It's all necessary stuff, and if you're a sci-fi geek like myself, you're probably gonna enjoy all that shit in the first place. And there are parts that are super action-packed. It's got a lot of personality. It's definitely the vision of a director. It's not just some, studio that just shit out, a replica of any sci-fi movie you've seen before. So it's unique. It's got its own voice, and I love it for that. So definitely do that if you haven't. So anyway, let me think about what else. Oh my gosh, yes. So my TBR, it's kind of loose. I kind of just pick and choose or whatever. But I will have you guys know, if you're not caught up on Red Rising, I've been pitching this so much. Okay, just bear with me. Bear with me. This is like the 10th time I've talked about this on this podcast. Okay, there's like 2 or 3 weeks until book 6 comes out. Whatever I'm reading at that time, I'm dropping. I'm dropping whatever it is, and then I'm running to the store and I'm gonna start reading Lightbringer. So you guys better be prepared to hear me talk about Lightbringer, because I am so excited for that book. And it's every single week, man. I keep saying, "Oh my God, it's getting so close." 3 weeks isn't a lot of time. 3 weeks isn't very much time at all. And I'm starting to realize that I'm probably not going to finish any of the books that I said I was going to read. I'm probably going to be jumping straight into that, and it's going to consume my life. I'll probably read it in like a few days. It's going to be one of those books that like I just don't do anything else while I'm reading it. Like I just fly through it. And I can't be upset about that. I am very excited about that. So just to warn you, just to give you an idea of what's coming, that's going to happen. But yeah, that's I think it for what I did this past week. I can't think of anything in particular that would be of import. But yeah, guys, I hope you're doing well. I would love to expand these discussions past what I'm talking about, just weekly. But I try to keep this spoiler free, which is another thing that I actually want to talk about. I think I'm gonna resume doing episodes specifically for like individual books or series. I kind of put that off for a while. I was like maybe going to do it for Jade City, and then I didn't. I'll probably end up doing it at the end of the trilogy. I think I'm going to do one for The Lies of Locke Lamora. So you can look out for that. I think that's going to happen, and you'll get some more in-depth discussions about specific works in those. So that'll probably happen. I don't know. I don't want to make any promises, because every time I do that, I end up changing my mind, and then it doesn't happen, and I feel bad. So anyway, that's just a warning. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're happy and healthy. And I will see you guys in the next video or in the next podcast, however you're listening to this. And yeah, until then, bye-bye. See ya.